I mean, do like a I love Huckabee's thing. Okay, so all, all of those things are on one thing. So you could say, here's thoughts, here's feelings, emotions, objects, and here's you. And the space in which they're arising is consciousness. So if you're looking at objects when you're meditating, thoughts, feelings, right? What is it that's looking at those objects? So in a way, what you find is there's an I that's looking at, and there's a felt sense too, often, not always, but you can, if you find a felt sense, all the better. If you find a felt sense as you're meditating of the I, of yourself, anything you would say, I am, and then you say, I can feel myself, then the very thing we did with Avarya was very helpful. To like bring your attention into that felt sense, right? But it may not even be a felt sense. There just like is a conviction or something like that, that there's an I, that I'm watching. So then to see, what is that I? What is that I that's aware of thoughts? And then at some point, there's a recognition, very much like here. See, like, let's imagine now, because this is in front of the camera and the screen, that this is the I sense, and these are the objects. Then you, at some point, you recognize this is the I, and you start to look at this I, or feel this I, but then it comes to you that, oh, something's aware of this I and aware of this object. That's consciousness itself. What is simultaneously aware of the I sense that's aware of thoughts. You will remain in the witness consciousness, a witness technique thing. This is the answer to your question, really. You'll remain in that witness. I'm witnessing objects if you don't examine the I that's supposed to be witnessing. You could do it several ways. If you just become aware of the space, then the sense of I starts to thin out and you lose track of that if you continue to just be aware of the space. But then the space becomes an object, so the I becomes very subtle. See, this is the tricky thing, is that it's about subject-object at that level. As long as even we're aware of space, then there's an I that's aware of space, and it's still a subtle form of duality. So, and there's no way to get around that. It's actually the thinning of the clouds. It's not. It's like at some point the clouds just thin, and then there's just sky. You know, it's possible always to just be sky. It's possible at always to just be sky. I am consciousness, not even that, oh, I'm aware of consciousness. I am the space. But what we're talking about is thinning the layers so that it becomes obvious. This is what I mean. It's purple red. It's not quite red. Red, you know, like in other words, just red is I am consciousness itself. All denseness and subtleness are the waves of me. And what am I? I am consciousness. That's all I am. I'm not the body in particular. The body is just I shouldn't even say just. The body is sensations, colors, all of those subtle feelings, and a thought construct that equals a body, and that's all it is. And the thought construct of a body, even the idea of a body, is just is not me in particular only. It's just something arising in me. And then the sensations that I used to call a body when I was holding on to that thought are also just sensations arising in me. And those sensations are me. but I'm not fixated on any of them. I'm not fixated on the thought of being a body or personality. I'm not fixated on the sensations, any of the particular sensations, sounds, feelings, anything at all. And then you could say you've arrived. The thing is that fixation, or at least the ability to focus, is a prerequisite for keeping a body alive, or at least most of the time. I mean, there are people literally who've lived and people have put stuff in their bowl and they kept eating. And the reason is because everybody around them wanted to sunbathe. Like someone who has just consciously lost track, like consciously. I'm not talking about someone with dementia or Alzheimer's or things like that, where there actually is a lot of fixating, but it's just confused, like it doesn't know what it is from moment to moment. That's the horror of those diseases. But someone who is totally unfixated consciously is the, not consciously as an individual anymore, but consciously as consciousness, is the whole, and is doing the bare minimum, if anything, to maintain a body, or maybe not doing anything, but people are maintaining, putting food in. Okay, it's not resisting the natural impulses of what arises or the patterns. Then that being is radiance. That being is freedom. And this is like, stories of people like Ramana Maharshi, who did the minimum for the body. Incredible transmission that has fueled how many lineages? There's like so many of us, through just like tons of them, because that power, that it's like people do just sit and bathe in the sun. And once in a while, the sun said a few words and people wrote them down and said, oh, this is important. But nothing was as important as the sunshine, as the warmth, as the silent radiance of Ramana Maharshi, of Buddha, of any of the women and men who've become fully awakened and rested in that. All the activity was secondary, But the primary thing was to have free consciousness present in people's lifetime. It really is. On the edge, when we're talking here, purple to red, when we're like, just okay, is to just notice and not cling, to let go. If there's anything if you wanna be given an assignment to do, at a certain point, you even let go of letting go. But letting go, not doing it, non-interference, just as it is. Notice and then just notice that. You say, watch. And that's why it is, in a way, the witness. If you're being the witness, be aware of the witness. That's all there is to do. The awareness of the witness. Now, sometimes we get into an infinite regress with that. Like people go, well, I'm aware of the witness, but now who's aware of the I that's aware of the witness? And that infinite regress, if it happens like that, is an I that's aware of the I. At some point, the recognition that all of the I's, something is aware of all of them that isn't an I. That's just awareness with no reference to itself. Yeah. There's something about innateness, or the word that it's not Tibetan, but it's been translated out of Tibetan as intrinsic. The word is intrinsic awareness, innateness. By the way, innateness has to do with Shiva and Shakti, and it's an impossible one for the ego to get around, but it's so obvious. It's like innateness, the innateness of Shakti, the innateness of Shiva. Like there is nothing you need to do, or there's nothing that Shiva, nothing that consciousness needs to do to be consciousness, so there's no need for an I to do it. It's just conscious. Same thing with Shakti. Everything that's happening in the universe, like the perfect example, women producing children, there is no need for I in that. Women produce children and they have no idea how. I mean, they could tell you, well, you know, if you're biology, this, that, but women have been doing that without any knowledge whatsoever forever. That's the power of Shakti. Shakti is innate. There is the power of consciousness, or you could say the Shakti of the unmanifest. Doesn't need anyone behind figuring out how to do anything. It's innate. It's an intrinsic. The power that manifests all of this. You know, another way of saying it is God never thinks about what he does. If we're going to be sexist about it, she never thinks about what she does. There's no need. It's innate. The creativity just happens. It's natural. It's the nature of it. Okay.